Hi, good afternoon. We're here with Bruno De Silva, owner of BDS Performance. So, Bruno, tell us a little bit about your new project.
The 116. Well, it's a venture I decided to go for instead of just keeping on with the old M44s. I decided to move to a newer platform. So, more technology available, other things that are more convenient, lighter engine, then the chassis itself has a better platform. So that's the reason why I decided to move into this new project instead of sticking to the E36s as I was doing previously.
So, how long have you owned the car? And tell us a little bit about some of the engine components that you've worked on or upgraded, shall I say.
Okay, I had the car for around 2 years. The components, well, it's most of it was all designed and built in-house by BDS. I fully designed them and built them. Other parts that I cannot build, like the hardware parts of the engine, like valve springs, valves, pistons, rods, I had everything custom made, especially for my specification for this engine, and then I just started putting things together.
Nice. So what's your future plans for the car?
Well, the car, it's being built just to prove a bit the ability of what we can do with it. It's easy to start with a big engine and a powerful engine, but I decided to start the other way around, just to get the smallest engine available and try to make the most power out of it. The plans for it, it's more to make it almost like a touring car, but with all our development on it. So we're not basing ourselves in anything that already exists, we're doing everything from scratch. So therefore we end up with a unique product, and the fruit of this development can be applied in other future projects we will be doing.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you spent quite a lot of time and effort onto the car. I guess up to this point, what does the car mean to you as a project?
Well, that's a very complicated question to answer. Mainly because when you're doing R&D, the research and development, you end up finding quite loads of barriers, especially when you're working on an area that was never touched. So no one knows, there's no one to ask what's going to happen.
Things with these cars, it's a continuous project sometimes. So where would people need to go, the fans and the followers, where would they need to go to find updates of what's going on, what the development you're doing with this car? Where would they follow you?
Well, I'm doing regular updates on Instagram. Usually our Instagram followers will see like the full thread of the build. Even if they just start following us, they can go back to our thing and see where we all started. It has like the first modification we've done on the car, when we first developed the stage 2 for a standard 116i engine, where we managed to squeeze an extra 25 bhp out of the car without opening the engine. Then from there they will find there's a bit of a gap between that and the following upgrade, because that's when we're designing the engine, choosing the parts to use, the time we put the first prototype together and started testing it.
I cannot hear anything.
Then things started to come, and then there was a time that everything just was ready to fall in place, so I just started to put it all together and people could see in there. People can also see some videos of the build or what the car can do on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at BDS Performance, and they will find some BDS 116i BDS tuned. They will find the ability of the car.
So Bruno, most people worry about brake horsepower. Tell us what your feelings about brake horsepower.
Well, that's a subject that it all depends on the point of view you have on it. I have many customers that approach me because they want more power, but most of them end up changing the way they look at it. Horsepower is really important, but it's only a measure of what an engine can do. It doesn't necessarily mean a car is going to be very fast just because it has a lot of power. Because when I build a car, I'm more focused on the balance of it, because that's what's going to make the car be quick. I don't really look at the horsepower. I know horsepower is what sells a car in the end, because everyone likes to mention how much power their car has and what it can do just because it has that much power. So it's a very important unit, but at the same time it's not something I pay a lot of attention to. I like to build something that it feels good for what it is. If you put too much power on a car, it becomes undrivable. Therefore it's absolutely pointless to have all the power and then you just cannot use it. Many cars can use the power they produce. Some others, I think it's just too much for what it is, and then it comes the compromise area where to have a certain amount of power you're going to lose on other areas. And because I prefer a car as an all-rounder, I rather have a balance where I don't really look at the BHP. Due to the nature of what I do, which is performance, power is always a very important factor. However, I don't take it as the primary thing to make it the most power. When I'm developing an engine, yes, I'm focusing on making as much power as I can, but at the same time, I'm making it as well as torquey as I can. Like I want a broad torque line, so the usable power, it's there. It's like it's a car that when you put your foot down, it goes. You don't have to rev it really high to have a lot of power. I prefer to have a car with let's say 10 bhp less, but has a torque line that is usable from 3000 to 8000 rpm, than just focusing on making peak horsepower. You know, it's just the longer period of time you have the power, the better it is. The quicker the car is going to become. The more torque available you have, the better it is. The quicker the car will become. So therefore, power is not all that important in the end. It's the whole compromise of the car you have. You know, it's just, it all has to do the needs you have on the car. It's nice to say you have a car with 600 bhp, but it becomes pointless if you cannot put the 600 bhp down. It's just, I've seen too many builds with a lot of power, and there's nothing that can be done with the car. So you just have the power to say you have it, but you cannot actually really use it. I'd rather have something that has less power, but it's really usable. I get a very good example. I have the supercharged M3 I built, which is right beside here.
Can you show us a little bit, please?
Yes. But we have this, when it was on the full boost, was around the 600 bhp, and we had the customer asking us to down tune it because it was too fast. It was just numbers to be there. It's not necessarily to make it quicker. It was just undrivable. It not really proper undrivable. He couldn't use it or enjoy it as much as he enjoys it now. He rather have a little bit less power, but something he can use. It's always better. It's usable power. It's what really you want on a car. You don't want to have something that is just a big number and then it's unusable. You're always better off just by lowering a bit your power figure, but being able to use the power you have. That is my 600 bhp. If you only know how to use 300, it's only a number in the end.
Guys, don't forget to follow, put a like on the video, follow the channel to hear the latest with BDS performance.